I didn't have a strong sense of a male role model in my life. My school years were basically hell on earth. From the age of about 5 years old till a senior in high school, I can best describe my upbringing as being one of insecurity. I was the butt of most people's jokes in school growing up.
When I was a kid, I was very much a tomboy. I got made fun of a lot. I was teased by my peers a lot.
I used to take ballet lessons and all sorts of things when I was a little girl, up to the age of about 4. And at that point I was sexually violated by a teenage boy.
When I went through puberty, the longings for male love and the genuine need for male attention that I had inside, which I feel is common to boys and girls growing up, became sexualized.
My mind correlated femininity with abuse or violation, and therefore I was to reject anything that put me at risk. And so I promoted more activities in my life that were more masculine.
And I was very attracted to the masculine sort of lifestyle of being in the military and wearing a uniform and that sort of thing. So I joined the Army at 18. And sure enough, my whole company was full of lesbians. From the captain on down to privates, I mean, there was lots of lesbians, and that's when I had my first lesbian lover.
My last year in high school, I invested in dating 3 boys at one time and tried to fit the norm, but it just didn't fit. I didn't have it in me. There was no real connection emotionally with the men. And then at that point, my first year in college, I decided that I was a lesbian, I was gay.
I was doomed from the first time I walked into a gay bar. There was such a magnetic pull, such a drive to go in there, I don't think I could have turned back even if I had wanted to. And because I wasn't raised with any Christian influence in my life, I didn't have a big standard of moral values, of what was right and what was wrong. And when I went into the gay bar, I really found people that I felt I could be comfortable with, people that I was just like. No longer was I the misfit.
Went from one lover to the next, looking for the perfect lover. I really wanted to find somebody I could spend the rest of my life with and sort of emulate, you know, heterosexuality as far as marriage and getting a house together and settling down. That was really my heart's desire. And I just really wanted to be loved. I wanted to find someone that would stay with me and be with me for the rest of my life. And however, in the midst of all this, I did have some conviction that homosexuality perhaps wasn't God's will. I had actually read it in the Bible one time and it really horrified me. The thought that I might not go to heaven really horrified me.
And because I was willing to do whatever I needed to find love and acceptance, I was willing to become a drag queen. And really for the last 4 years of my homosexuality, I was involved in the world of female impersonation.
A very good friend of mine who was still in the Navy at that time, the Naval Investigative Service had gone through the barracks on one of their searches for drugs, and they'd found her diary. And in her diary she talked about her lover. Well, they called her in and they questioned her, and she admitted that she was indeed a lesbian, and so they decided they were going to discharge her as a lesbian. 2 or 3 weeks before that, we had gone to the first gay and lesbian march in Washington, D.C. And I had spent 3 days listening to people talking about gay rights, and I'd gotten really pumped up from that. So my idea was we're going to go on base, and I was going to throw this Molotov cocktail at the Naval Investigative Service building just to make a show of things, just to show them that we were angry, that someone was mad at them. Well, as it turned out, we went on base and things got really carried away, and we ended up burning down the Naval Investigative Service building.
I was discovering how lonely I was, always looking for Mr. Right to come along on a white horse to sweep me off my feet, that we could have the house with the picket fence and the golden retriever, and I just found that Prince Charming never was going to ride by.
They tried me, and they found me guilty, and they sentenced me to 7 years in prison. And during the whole proceedings, the court proceedings and everything, in my heart I felt maybe this is a blessing in disguise, because I knew my life was fairly well out of control.
I said, what I really, really need, God, whoever you are, is to be loved unconditionally. I have this big, huge hole in my life, and I need that filled.
I had a Bible, and I was looking at it, and I opened it up one day, and it was like the words came alive to me. It was like a veil was torn from my eyes, and I totally understood that this was indeed the Word of God, and that it was true. And if it was true that being a lesbian was wrong, it was sinful, and I wasn't going to go to heaven, I was going to go to hell. So I got down beside my bed there in prison, I gave my heart and life to Jesus Christ.
And up to this point in the gay community that I was involved in, it was completely unheard of that homosexuality was something that could be changed, because we all had been completely convinced it was something we were born with. It's not that any of us researched that on our own. We just bought the line that we were being told in the media, that you were born that way, and that was just fine with us, because if I had thought that I wasn't born that way, then maybe I would be responsible to do something about it.
I thought I was born gay because it had always been like that for me. It always felt different. And so when somebody tells you, you know, that's a sin, you've got to stop it, it's hard for you to understand that without the Spirit of God enlightening you to it, because you just know that all your life you've been this way.
I realized that Jesus was someone whom I could trust, whom I could give my life to. And basically what I was concerned about is that when I died, I would go to heaven.
That night I gave my life to the Lord and just gave up all my dreams and desires about homosexuality. I was willing to do whatever it took to overcome that.
I had never met anybody anywhere out of the hundreds of people I knew that had ever walked away from homosexuality. But I decided that I could trust God a lot more than I could trust what the media was telling me, what my gay psychologist was telling me, and God's truth was burned deep within my heart.
So the Lord began to show me the root causes to the lesbian lifestyle for me, and that was about 7 years ago, and I've been in a process during that time of tackling those things, so to speak. Okay, Lord, I see that, I see that I felt this rejection, and letting the Lord into that area of my life, and He's brought the healing. So now I totally identify as a heterosexual. The lesbian identity really, about 2 years ago, really left me. I still have struggles, I still have temptations, but they're far less. Each year they get less and less. And I'm looking forward to perhaps getting married if that's in God's plan for me.